So today, let's take a look at why Republicans hate democracy. That sounds kind of intense and dramatic, right? But it's kind of the truth, right? Republicans cannot compete as a nation in free and open elections. They will lose, and we'll hear it from the top man himself in just a minute. In the meantime, let's remember that David Frum quote: "If conservatives cannot win through democracy, they will not abandon conservatism, they will abandon democracy." And I really love that quote because, for one thing, it's coming from a conservative, but also it's just so undeniably true. There is so much evidence showing that that is exactly what's happened. There is an attack on democracy in this country by the GOP because they know if they don't limit democracy, they can't win seats. Again, we'll hear it from Trump. So let's go ahead and roll that clip from Trump.
I mean, they have a majority in the House, and therefore you need their vote, and they want to get certain things. I will tell you this. If you look at before and after, the things they had in there were crazy. They had things, levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again. They had things in there about, election days and what you do and all sorts of clawback.
Okay, so what are the ways in which the GOP is trying to destroy democracy? So step one, gerrymandering. And I keep hearing the argument, well, the Democrats gerrymander too. It's not the same thing, right? This is like a couple of kids kicking a soccer ball around at the park versus the World Cup. It's not even the same game being played here, okay? If you want to talk gerrymandering, look at the situation. The Republicans are absolutely guilty of gerrymandering in a number of states to a degree that can only be called undemocratic, right? There's not, well, it's kind of a little bit out of line. It's just totally over the top with the gerrymandering that's going on in this country right now.
The things they had in there were crazy. They had things, levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again.
Then we've got the outdated Electoral College, which has been around a long time, and I know the arguments. Well, we have to make sure that states like Wyoming still get a say. Yes, of course. But should Wyoming have the same amount of say as California? Probably not. Right? That probably is a little out of whack right now, and we need to get back to a regular, we need to get back to where people are actually represented, and we can put laws through this country without a small minority being able to block things, like where we have Mitch McConnell, one man being able to block whatever legislation he wants. It's not really okay.
The things they had in there were crazy. They had things, levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again.
We've got voter suppression, which is happening all over the place. And this is actually the one Trump was talking about. They don't want people voting because if everyone votes, the GOP is over, right? Which is why it's so important that we get people out to vote in November. And unfortunately, we have this other situation going on in our country, which is still going to be a big problem in November. We need people with mail-in ballots across the country sending in their ballots, voting, and trying to get our democracy back. All these other things we're trying to fight for, they're never going to happen if we don't even have democracy, right? We're not going to get improved medical care for our citizens if we don't have democracy. We are not going to get a fair wage for the people. All the people right now, when many of us are at home, the people that are out there making hardly any money at all, putting themselves at risk of catching the virus to keep the grocery stores running, to keep the grocery stores stocked, to keep the supply lines moving. All of these people need to be earning a living wage. And why is that? Well, apparently they're essential because they're still going to work, keeping society moving while we're all staying at home. But none of that's going to happen until we get democracy back. And some people will say, oh, democracy's in danger. If this keeps up, we're going to lose democracy. I could spend an hour going through the reasons why, in my opinion, democracy is gone. We can still get it back. I think it's close enough that we can get it back. But when you have people not even letting a Democratic president appoint a Supreme Court nomination when they're only 3/4 of the way through their term, democracy is gone. All those federal judges not being appointed, democracy is gone. We have bills being passed by the House that are never being voted on in the Senate. Democracy is gone. We need people voting. We need to fight back for that democracy.
The things they had in there were crazy. They had things, levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again.
We have a situation in Oregon where when the state legislators in Oregon the Republicans don't like what's about to happen, they just leave town. They've done it at least 2 times and maybe more where they just leave. So there's no quorum, so a vote can't take place and they're gone. Again, democracy gone. Why are these people not considered traitors? Why is it acceptable for legislators to leave town and not have votes take place in the state legislature? Why is it okay for Mitch McConnell to just never allow votes on bills that he doesn't like? Why is that? That's traitorous, right? It's literally breaking down democracy. If you break down democracy in this country, you are a traitor, right? And here we have Trump saying it out loud. I think it's traitorous. I think it's traitorous.